Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the secondary, the Athodai, and specifically using its brand new augment, Pain Points, that came out in this new Nightwave. So about a year ago, we actually did a Athodai video already, but since then we've had new mods come out. We of course have this brand new augment. So there's new and updated ways to build out the Athodai. So I thought this would be a good time to just redo this weapon. This weapon also has kind of a weird thing where it has an alternate fire that doesn't necessarily play very well with the primary fire. So it kind of functions like two separate weapons. You either build it out for the primary fire or you either build it out for the alternate fire. So if the alternate fire build is built out any differently than what I had a year ago, then you may also see an alternate fire build sometime this week. But today is going to be the primary fire mode of the Athodai. But before we start, let's go over our commenter board here. Our first commenter of the last video was Nomad VO, and our top commenter of the last video is Roar XD Tone P4Me 9360. And then we have our recent channel supporter board here of Whoop-De-Wham, Nice Bear, and Colonel Suro 6. Thank you so much for your support. Unique and interesting things about the Athodai is that it has innate heat on the weapon already. It also comes with a unique trait called Overdrive, where weak point kills remove recoil and increase fire rate and ammo efficiency by 100% for 8 seconds. The Athodai also has a secondary firing mode, or an alternate fire I should say, where this is more of like a close range flamethrower, or I think the wiki describes it as a cone of energy. But the unfortunate thing is that these two firing modes, the primary and the alternate fire mode, are built out very differently than each other. So you're pretty much either building out for primary or you're building out for the alternate fire. They don't really play well with each other. So today our video is going to be focusing on the primary fire mode. Now, before we go over all of the mods, I do want to go over one mod in particular, and that is Pain Points. This is the Athodai specific mod that's in the Nightwave. Let's read it here. On a weak point hit with the primary fire, you get plus 60% weak point damage for 5 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. So that's going to be 600% weak point damage. That's really, really good. And when I first started building out the Athodai with this new augment, I had thought that would mean that a pistol Acuity build would be really, really good with it. And what I did is I wanted to test pistol Acuity up against galvanized diffusion. And so I did a few 5-minute runs. My pistol Acuity runs ended up being 309 in 5 minutes and 258 in 5 minutes. And my multi-shot runs with galvanized diffusion ended up being 380 and 377 kills. So I was finding that multi-shot was actually doing a lot better for me than pistol Acuity. However, I can't claim that this is a concrete fact because this is more of a personal thing. You know, I personally believe that I am a average to above average player, maybe at aiming for headshots and weak points. And so as an above average player, I was still getting more value out of galvanized diffusion. However, if you consider yourself an above average player, then maybe you would get more value out of pistol Acuity. It really depends. And I would actually encourage you to test that yourself. Use the exact same builds. That way, you know, it doesn't favor multi-shot over one or it doesn't favor Acuity over the other. Use the exact same builds. Do one with diffusion, do one with Acuity, and see if you get any different on your kill per minute values. And that'll kind of tell you, you know, okay, maybe my weak point aiming is not good enough and maybe I should use galvanized diffusion over Acuity there. Okay, let's go over the mods now. We have galvanized diffusion here for multi-shot, galvanized crosshairs for critical chance, creeping bullseye for critical chance, prime target cracker for critical damage, merciless gunfight for critical damage and punch through. Pain Points, we already went over this one. This is 600% weak point damage. Lethal Torrent for fire rate and multi-shot. Just remember, if you did decide to go with an Acuity build, you would not use Lethal Torrent. In the next slot, we're going to be going for Primed Heated Charge for 165% heat. Some people may be confused about this. You know, the weapon comes with innate heat. Why am I just adding another large heat mod here? And it's because it's always good to have a decent amount of element on your weapon anyway, even if it's pretty bad in status chance. If you look here, the Athodai is only 8%. And that's because even just having some element on the weapon affects how that damage calculation works, and you just end up getting a lot more damage out of it anyway. And even though the status is only 8%, this shoots fast enough where you're still getting okay amounts of heat procs. It's not good, but it's okay enough to maintain our arcane that we'll get to eventually, which is Cascadia Flare. Okay, in the Exilis slot, Spry Sights is the one I'm going to be using here. This is only plus 20% movement speed when aiming. It's not very impressive, but nothing else really makes sense in the Exilis slot because the Overdrive mod, remember, or the Overdrive trait, I should say, sorry. The Overdrive trait gives us ammo efficiency, so we don't need a pistol ammo mutation, and it also removes our recoil, so we don't need an anti-recoil mod. So there's not really great options in the Exilis slot except for Spry Sights, so if you really want it to be cheap, you could also just leave this empty. In the Arcane slot, we're going to be going for Cascadia Flare, which is going to give us 480% flat damage. There's also a consideration where you can go with Deadhead here. So let me bring up Deadhead if I could find it, if I could find my full Deadhead. There it is. Sorry about that. It took me a while. So Deadhead is 360% flat damage. So you're losing 120 compared to Flare, but you do get some extra headshot multiplier. And remember, you're getting some extra damage on weak point kills with this weapon. So this is also quite competitive versus Flare. So you can make that decision yourself, Deadhead or Flare. Both work very well. This is how you build out the secondary, the Athodai, and specifically its primary fire mode. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing for future content. So now we'll have a 5-minute gameplay portion showcasing the weapon, and when that's done, we'll come back to the Orbiter and we'll give it our final score and ranking. So I'll see you guys again after the gameplay. Alrighty, let's go ahead and start this gameplay portion up here. Let's go ahead and hack the terminal. I think you're going to be coming from over this way. Of course, we're not using any externals. We're just using the mods that were showcased on the weapon. And then you guys can make your own intelligent conclusions about, adding externals. You could be like, well, Roar is going to make it stronger, obviously. Nourish would give it viral, obviously. Or you could make, considerations about removing mods because of externals. You could be like, well, I'm going to play this with Wisp that gives me fire rate, so maybe I'll take off lethal for it. I don't know if I would do that though, because it still gives you multi-shot. I'm not sure. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So the 8-second overdrive buff, it will not refresh itself. So there are going to be like a second or two in between, like every 8 seconds, where you're going to have to re-trigger it. So that's just something to note. It's not really a big deal. It's almost unnoticeable, but you may see your fire rate go down a little bit for like 1 or 2 seconds until you get another, proc of it. The alternate fire mode is actually really good on this weapon too. Originally, before the pain points augment came out, I would actually say the alternate fire mode was the better mode on the Athodai. Nowadays, I don't know, I have to redo the alternate fire build and I have to test it up against the primary fire and see if it still beats it or if the new augment pain points is enough for the primary fire to actually, be good on its own. So we'll see. If you don't see a alternate fire Athodai build up later this week, that means that the old build still stands. That was like almost a year ago. But I don't know if the old build is going to still stand though, because like a lot of new mods have come out in the game. So we'll see though, we'll see. The only negative with the alt build is that the ammo consumption is ridiculous. Because there's no way to stop shooting. Like once you alt fire, it like blows through the entire mag. And I don't know if you've noticed, but you only have ammo for what's in the mag plus 2 more mags. So like it doesn't have the best ammo economy. It's not a big deal on the primary fire because the primary fire has, 100% efficiency as long as you're triggering overdrive. But on the alternate fire, you're not triggering overdrive, so, you do have to be careful with your ammo. You have to run ammo mutation mods and things like that. You can see, even with only 8% status chance, we're maintaining a full 480 on our flare arcane. And if you were a little bit weary about that, you could also just go with the Deadhead arcane as well, because Deadhead is actually quite competitive versus flare, because flare is only it's 480, but it's only flat damage, you know, whereas Deadhead is 360. So like you're only losing 120 with it, but you also get that 30% more headshot multiplier, which is pretty sexy on the primary fire mode. Just remember that that extra 120 flat from flare affects all of your hits, whereas that extra 30% headshot multiplier on Deadhead only affects your headshot. So again, I think that consideration comes down to how good are you at weak point hits. I'm pretty good at weak point hits, but you know, I wasn't good enough for Acuity to beat out Diffusion. I still am using Diffusion. All right, so we got the Acolyte coming. This does pretty okay against the Acolyte. It's nothing special. It feels like your typical machine pistol or assault rifle versus the Acolyte. You'll see here. Mania is a really shitty Acolyte to get because he puts on, yeah, there, or no, he doesn't have it on yet. He puts on Zephyr's Turbulence eventually, and you can't even damage him. So we're almost at 5 minutes. Gotta get a trigger on that. There we go. Where'd he go? Oh, they both turned back. Let's get these Thraxes dealt with, then we'll deal with the Acolyte. Gotta be careful of our life support too. Maybe I'll run and hit like 2 of them. They're right here. Leave me alone, Mania. You damn asshole with your Zephyr Turbulence where I can't even shoot you half the time. Now we triggered Overdrive. Let's get that Thrax down. He is somewhere in this direction, I think. Is that him? All right, Thrax is down. Let's deal with Mania just so we can see what this does versus the Acolyte, so you guys can see that. Just remember that Mania does have that stupid Turbulence buff on. Let's see. All right, it's off right now. It does okay. It does okay. Nothing amazing, but not horrible either. So in 6 minutes, we went a little bit over. That's 350 kills. So let's go back to the Orbiter here. Welcome back to the Orbiter, guys. So let's go over how the Athodai primary fire did in its 3 10-minute runs on Steelpath Lewis Circulus. It got 671, 662, and 829 kills. And if we do the average of those 3, that's going to be 720, which means it's in the A tier for kill per minute potential. But if you noticed, in those 3 runs, that third run being 829, that's a huge outlier. That's like 150 or more kills than the other 2 runs. So that one run, I had a really amazing tile set, and I had a feeling it was gonna maybe overperform there. So, you know, just take that into consideration, that if we didn't have that outlier, it might have scored in the high B, but because of that outlier, it kind of pulled it into the low A tier. So it's in between, right? It's high B, low A. We'll just go off of what our numbers actually gave us. So it's gonna be A tier for kill per minute. Now, when it comes to single target damage, it does pretty good, but unlike other weapons that stack heat, it has a really low status chance. So you're not stacking like 100 heat procs. You're stacking like 5 or 10 maybe if you're lucky. So most of your damage is just going to be, you know, your raw damage hitting the target. It's still nice to have a few heat procs here and there, but the bulk of your damage is not going to be caused by them. So for single target, I am going to think that it's more in the middle. So I'll give it B tier. For ease of use, it's not the easiest weapon to use because you are going to want to aim. You're going to be wanting to get headshots, probably more so than most other weapons. So I'm kind of in between giving it high C or low B. I think we'll give it a high C tier for ease of use. So that's my take on the weapon. Tell me what you guys think. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.